Welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. And now, let's get sketchy.
Hello there, everyone, and we're back. Welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, the greatest live broadcast in all of YouTube. I'm Matt from thevirtualinstructor.com, and I'd like to welcome you for the next hour of the wild ride that we're going to be on here on this episode here.
That's right.
It's been 2 weeks, so I'm not even really sure what episode this is in the season. I guess it's episode 7, I think.
Let's see. I've got one more drawing to do after this one, and you do too. So I think this may be 8.
So you have 2. Yeah, 8, 9. Yeah. So this is 8. This is 8.
8. Then we got 9, 10, and then the wrap-up show where we critique.
So welcome tonight. Ashley's going to be doing the drawing. And for those of you who don't know, Getting Sketchy is where either myself or my good friend and fellow artist and art teacher, Ashley Hurst, tries to create a drawing for you inside of 45 minutes. Of course, we sprinkle in some art instruction there, and we address your comments and questions there. Hello to everyone all over the world. I see you already in the chat box. Thanks for remembering that we've got Getting Sketchy tonight. After this, we've got the live lesson, too, so I'm excited to get back into that. The live lessons, of course, are for members. We'll get into that in just a minute. But tonight, Ashley's going to be drawing with pen and ink and markers, and I did the description for the video, and I only put pen and ink. So if there's going to be markers, too, so you got a little bit of time there to grab your markers.
Yeah, and I tell you what, we'll look at the markers that I'm going to use and then maybe talk about the composition and the art a little bit. That'll give everybody a chance to collect those markers if they're going to follow along with marker.
Yeah, so you got a few minutes. So if you want to just do it in pen and ink, you can do that too.
Sure.
This season, we're working with 2 wheels. One has the mediums that we are going to use, and the other one actually has the photo references that we're going to use. I don't think we're ever going to do that again. But at the end of the broadcast, Ashley will spin the 2 wheels for what I'm going to be drawing next week for my last drawing of the season. Last week, as many of you know, I've been dealing with kidney stones for a while, and I had a massive kidney stone, 11 millimeter stone that needed to be removed, and my procedure was scheduled last Wednesday. And then last Sunday, I actually came down with the flu. So I went ahead and, worked through it. I had the procedure while I had the flu, and I think I got all of those stupid rocks out of me for right now. It was a very painful, excruciating experience, but I'm back here this week and ready to go, feeling a lot better than I did last week at this time. So that's why we had to skip last week. But I'm glad all of you remembered and you're back with us this evening. Remember, during tonight's broadcast, you can ask questions or make comments in the chat box there. If you do have a comment or question that's directed at Ashley or I, if you put it in all capital letters, that will help me see it a little bit easier amongst the other comments and questions, since I'll be running the chat box tonight. And that reminds me here, I feel like I'm sitting so low over here. I think something has happened.
I don't know. You look the same on the screen.
I look the same on the screen. No one knows, but
the
I feel
entire
like I'm
studio
looking up and looking at the...
You do look short. Maybe I'm up high. Maybe that's it.
No,
Maybe my seat's up higher.
I don't think I adjusted the seat back and the camera back, and I think I'm just kind of sitting low tonight. So I'll just be sitting low here.
Low rider.
Yeah,
Matt,
low rider. That's, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, make comments and questions. I see all the capital letters there. Thank you guys for your comments. I am feeling a lot better. So if you have a question that's art related, you can ask us tonight, and we'll do our best to answer them for you. Don't have to be about what we're doing tonight. Of course, it can be anything art related. And like I said, we'll do our best to answer those questions for you. If you do like this video, make sure that you give it a like. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on videos that we produce like this. And also the videos that aren't live, which I'll also throw out from time to time as well. If you do want to go a little bit deeper with your drawing and painting, there is a membership program over at thevirtualinstructor.com, which includes a variety of drawing and painting courses on a variety of drawing media and subject matter, and painting media and subject matter as well. There are the weekly live lessons, which are broadcast live after Getting Sketchy each week for an hour. And for the live lessons, we do more complete drawings and paintings. Right now, I'm working on a series where we're working with oil pastels and doing a fall landscape. Although it's kind of become a little bit more wintry now, so but still fall is beautiful. Anyway, those live lessons are presented in real time, and of course they're all recorded and stored in our vaults, so you can check out all the live lessons that have ever been produced. There's also weekly critiques as part of the Members Minute, and also a year-long curriculum for visual arts teachers. The curriculum is organized in a way where you don't have to go searching for videos or educational content. It's all right there for you to use in your classroom. It's really an invaluable tool. All right, so if you want to learn more about the membership program, there's a link in the description below. You can go check it out. And if you want to see what our course videos and ebooks are like, there is a link below too that you can check out 3 of the course videos and ebooks, 3 course videos and ebooks. So it's not the entire course, just a part of 3 of our courses and videos and ebooks for free in the description below. Of course, you can go check that stuff out. All right. Are we ready?
I think that's it. Yeah, ready? I guess we'll go ahead and switch over and take a look at our colors first, and then maybe talk a little bit about our composition and what we plan to do with it.
All right, sounds good. And now you've had plenty of time to get your markers. You got a few more minutes as we switch over.
All right, so we've got our reference on the left and our paper on the right. I'm using 80-pound drawing paper, just white drawing paper. It is, let's see, 4.5 inches wide by pretty much 6.5 inches tall. I think it's like 6 and 7/16, so close to 6.5. So I would just go 4.5 by 6.5. If you want to work in a proportion that's close to or similar to our reference, or you can just work on your sketchbook page and just see how it lands on there. That's fine too. Now I went ahead and started making a list of colors that I thought I would use. This is going to be pen and ink and marker, but the pen and ink, or the pen really, is going to come in near the end. So we're going to start with marker after creating an initial pencil sketch. So these are some colors that I thought I would use, and kind of pulled them out of a set and started making notes, and then decided or narrowed it down to the colors that have dots next to them. So I'm going to be using Prismacolor Premier markers. They've got a wide or chisel tip, and also a small tip. We'll be using mostly the wide tips, but we'll use the small tips for a few of these colors. And selected Art Deco, Light Aqua. We'll use Aquamarine just a little bit.
What about that Brittany blue? Is that what you...
I'm going to skip Brittany blue.
Okay,
I have it in here. It's almost like a gray blue, and I might need it. So we'll see. If something needs to be toned down, I might go with the Brittany blue. We've also got some colors that are cool and warm on here, and we can stack or layer those to tone a color down as well, to tone down its intensity. So maybe Brittany blue, but I'll reserve the right to use Brittany blue, even though it doesn't have a dot next to it.
Okay, I gotcha. I understand now.
You see my system here?
I understand the system, yes.
Okay, so we're going to use Deco Orange.
I was hoping you'd use buff. I like doing things in the buff.
Yeah. Well, no comments. No comments. I was between buff and light peach. Light peach is a little bit darker, but it's also a little bit brighter or more colorful. So I'm thinking I'm leaning toward light peach. In the places we probably could also get away with using buff. So either one of those colors would be okay for the same application. I've got ultramarine blue, which we can see in the actual door a little bit. This is a little bit strong. And I have my ultramarine it's running out a little bit. We may take advantage of that. Pale vermilion, I have an open circle, which means I may use it, but I'm not sure. I'm going to try to use salmon. No, wait. Oh, I've confused myself. I think
you need a.
That's it.
You need a
Deco
guide
orange.
here. You need a key.
I think so. I just need to start marking some of these out. Yeah. So I might use pale vermilion on the ground plane, the surface a little bit in front of the door, the patio, but probably that's going to be mostly Deco orange and cadmium red. Now I have this grayed lavender, and that must be the oldest Prismacolor that I have, because this is it, and it doesn't look lavender at all. The color has completely faded out.
You left that one in the car.
It looks white, right? So, but it is actually grayed lavender. I believe it says grayed because even the words are very difficult to make out on here.
Yeah, it's grayed.
Yeah, I think it's my oldest one. It's faded lavender is what it is. But we're going to try to use that in places where it really isn't there. There's not really any lavender in here, but I'm going to use it for the shadows behind the chairs.
Maybe once it was lavender, and as it became older, it became gray to lavender.
Yeah, and it just typed its own label out so that it was still properly identifiable. Okay, so and then I've got some colors that, I don't know if I mentioned light umber, but we're going to use that just a little bit. There's a sign over the door, so we'll need light umber there. And we may use light umber down in our chairs a little bit too.
Okay, we've got some questions rolling in as you're getting things ready to go here. Henrique asks, the videos of your courses could be downloaded. They used to be available for download, but that feature got abused, and people are downloading the videos and actually putting them on third-party platforms, digital platforms, which is against the terms and conditions. So unfortunately, I had to remove that option for the videos to be downloaded, but they're all streamed, of course. And let's see, Claude says, do oil pastels dry in the drying time? Oil pastels don't ever dry completely, so the drying time is really irrelevant there. They do still stay malleable and wet, I'll put that in quotations, forever. And James says, is it gouache paint or acrylic ink? Tonight, Ashley is using alcohol-based markers.
That's right.
So it's not gouache or acrylic ink.
Now, I believe 2 weeks ago I did use gouache with a little bit of ink. So I don't know if there's a description.
Yes, maybe
a different description, possibly, because we did use gouache with a pen.
I've changed the description.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a couple weeks ago. Ashley did use gouache with ink, but I think he might be asking about the markers. I'm not sure.
Okay.
You could clarify that. Let's see. Katie says it's too cold in the UK to be in the buff, LOL, but not inside when you have fire and heat. Let's see. James says, like Copic markers? Yes. Like Copic markers. Copic markers are alcohol-based, and the Prismacolor Premier markers are also alcohol-based.
Now, I do have this, I don't know if I mentioned, I do have this one strange marker. It is that's not the right color, but it's a different brand. Seems to be missing, so here it is. So it is my cadmium red marker, and it is a different brand.
That is a strange marker. That also looks like you left it in the car.
Listen, when I open this marker, Matt, you're going to know it. I think this is left over from the late 70s. So I'm going to save this towards the end because it's going to fume up the entire studio.
Well, it might get groovy in here.
Right. It might be groovy. Right. Yep. So it's a real marker.
It'll affect you first.
That's right. If I start speaking backwards, then you know I've opened up the cadmium red marker.
If you start speaking backwards, we're going to start recording some records. All right. So you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's bring up the 45 minutes. There it is.
All right. So I had already put a few marks around the perimeters of my page because I'm pretty much looking at where some of these long straight lines and edges kind of begin and end at the edges of the page. And I'm going to put some of those in first. So this line here is supposed to be where the light colored molding kind of meets the blue-green wall. And this here should be about where the tops of our door frame and windows are.
And while you're doing that, I knew there was something I forgot to mention. This photo reference can be found under the community tab at the virtualinstructor.com channel, video channel at YouTube. So you might be watching this video, but you're probably not on the channel. If you click on my face, that will take you to the channel, and then you can click on the community tab, and there you can find this image that you can download. This image comes from Pixabay. I have edited it to a certain degree. And Edie says, is there a market for marker artwork, please? There's a market for any type of artwork if you know how to market it.
I can tell you that young people are really into marker art.
Yes. Yeah. But young people also don't have money to buy art. But you can, if you...
It can be expensive.
Today, being an artist is different than it was 20 years ago or 25 years ago. With the internet, you can make a market for anything that you want. And if marker art is what you want to create, and you figure out a way to make it appealing to a customer base, then yes, it's marketable and you can sell it. It's not like oil painting where you might work through a gallery and allow the gallery to make sales for you. It's not a medium like that. But it is a medium that you can sell to clients directly through the internet. And that's true of anything that you want to make. I mean, you just look at Etsy, and people are making all kinds of cool stuff that they're selling that 25 years ago, they probably would not, I know for a fact they wouldn't have the market that exists today. It's really an exciting time to have goods and services to sell, because it is so easy to connect with customers no matter what it is, whether it's marker art or digital art or baskets that you've created while underwater at your local pool. You know, it could be anything. So yeah, it's really more about understanding how to find the audience for your artwork. That's really probably a better way to think about it.
All right. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Yeah. There's somebody out there looking for your artwork already. Just have to find them.
Shane is, we hear this a lot. I think, he is asking tips for drawing every day and staying consistent. Do you have tips for keeping consistent and drawing every day?
If you want to draw every day, I think maybe having a set aside time to draw every day is a good place to start. And it could just be at like 20 minutes every day. Doesn't have to be a lot of time. In fact, it can't be a lot of time if you're going to do it every single day. So having a schedule or sort of a plan or a system, that's what I would do for a sort of a drawing every day type challenge.
Yeah, it sounds like you're wanting to create a habit, and the same thing's true for whatever habit. You have to make it a priority in the beginning, and then slowly it becomes something that you don't want to miss, because if you feel like you miss doing it, then you're missing out on something. Like for me, anyway, I have high blood pressure. And one of the ways I combat high blood pressure is by trying to stay fit and healthy. And I do a lot of things to stay fit and healthy, but one of the things that I have to do consistently is run in the morning. And I am not a runner. I don't like to run. I don't find it fun or exciting. My wife is a runner, and she finds it exciting and fun. She just ran in a half marathon on Saturday while I was passing a 3 millimeter stone.
I'll bet your neighbors think you love running because they see you pass by every day.
Well, yeah.
They probably think it's your thing.
Even when I am not feeling good, I still get up and I go out and I walk the route that I would normally run. So I stay in that habit, so I don't lose that habit. Now, there's times when it's raining or something like that, and I can't go out and run. And on those days, I feel like something is missing from me. And that's because I've developed a habit. So if you want to develop a habit for drawing and painting or whatever it is, the best thing to do is to make it a priority in the beginning until it becomes part of your daily routine. And that is a great way to build a habit. And a lot of times that means that we have to do it first thing in the morning. Everybody's a little bit different, but if you do it first thing in the morning, then you've got it out of the way and you don't have to worry about it the rest of the day. But if you try to put something off to the end of the day, for me anyway, I find excuses for why I can't do certain things. All right, there are other questions and comments I want to address. Lori says, Matt and Ashley, so glad to see you both back. Matt, I prayed for you last week. I know your comment wasn't in capital letters, but I want to just point that out. Thank you so much for that, Lori. And I also want to point out or thank all the people who sent me emails and well wishes. I heard from tons of you guys. And I'm just so thankful for that. Those things mean the world to me. And I appreciate you guys reaching out to me last week when you had so many other things to be on your mind besides me. So I really appreciate that.
Great. It's a great group.
Let's see. Matt and Ashley. Oh, okay. I see Lori repeated that, put it in capital letters. I think even before I got to that. Let's see. Again, I'm just going to remind you, if you have a comment or question that's directed at myself or Ashley, if you put it in capital letters, that helps me see a little bit. Some of you a little bit easier. Some of you are making comments and questions in lowercase. I'm trying to find them. Let's see. Here's a question or comment. Give us any advice about beginning with watercolor.
Okay.
Do you want to answer that?
Let's see. Well, I'm trying to go back in my mind to my first experience working with watercolor, sort of under instruction.
Well, I remember
I've got my own philosophies on watercolor. I like to work with watercolor sometimes without a drawing.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I like to I like to work without a drawing because it keeps me from being too tight and kind of trying to control the medium too much. So I like to kind of keep it loose, keep it wet. And also know when to just put it down and walk away and let your paper dry. Something can go not quite right, or there's an area that you want to get back to or fix or work on, and you can, because of that inclination to want to fix it, you can sometimes rush things and
overwork things,
right? And you end up with muddy, blurry areas because of that. And you just maybe needed, and I'm talking to myself here, need to be a little more patient sometimes and wait for something to dry. And then try to work on and manipulate it.
Yeah. So. What Ashley's saying there about watercolor is good advice, that you can't fully control watercolor. You can control it to a certain degree, but you can't fully control watercolor because it's water.
Right.
So
and you can set yourself up for success, but the drying time is going to be affected by the humidity in your environment. So it's not going to be the exact same every time. You got to be in tune to your water and your drying time. I check how moist my paper is with the back of my finger. I have a better success feeling how cool or not cool it is with the back of my finger. So that would be a little tip I would give you, just to check. Sometimes paper will look dry, but if it feels a little cool, it's still not entirely dry, and your marks won't be as crisp when they go down.
And I'm going to actually give you some opposite advice of what Ashley just gave you. And that's what's great about the show and having both of us on there, because there's lots of different ways to do things. And for me, watercolor has always been the most challenging medium. And I've heard or read about other artists agreeing with that statement, that watercolor is a difficult medium. A lot of people consider it to be the most difficult medium, which is ironic because a lot of times art teachers will start with watercolor when they're in their classrooms.
It just kills me.
But one of the things that really was helpful to me is understanding that watercolor can be combined with pen and ink. And pen and ink allows us to have really rigid lines and edges. And watercolor is the opposite of that. Watercolor has blurrier edges, softer transitions, and it's the opposite of ink. So if you are just starting with watercolor, why not try to combine it with pen and ink? Do an ink drawing and then let the watercolor be free over the top when you apply it. And that kind of helps with that urgency or need to control, because you can control with the pen and ink and allow the watercolor to be watercolor. When I had an instructor years ago introduced pen and ink drawing with watercolor to me, it was a real aha moment, and I really started to appreciate watercolor at that point.
I like to use them together also, and I don't feel pressured to put as many layers on because I do even some shading or hatching with the pen. Nice. Now we're going to be working that way a little bit here, Matt. I'm going to be thinking of the markers kind of like watercolor, except we're going to use the pen near the end to sort of redefine areas that are soft, blurry, or contours that may not be entirely straight. Okay, so we've got a pencil drawing that's okay. We've got a lot of details missing, windows and stuff. We're just going to find that with our markers, and possibly, well, maybe I should put a few of those marks in there. But we're going to use the pen minimally, and kind of near the end. So just a few more marks. So I was lightening my drawing with a kneaded eraser, and you might want to do that too. That's just so we don't have too much, I guess, bleeding of the graphite into our colors. Might want to see the if we see the graphite through a little bit, that's okay.
A few more questions here.
Yeah.
Katie asked, if I send a portrait done in white pastel on black 400 miles away, how do I ensure it will not be smudged? It's great to see you, Matt. Oh, thank you, Katie. It's great to see you too. It doesn't matter if you're sending it 400 miles or 2 miles. Really, all you need to do is make sure that your drawing is protected in some way. And the way that I would do this, back when I did the house portraits, I would have to send them really far away. And there was always a feeling of apprehension when I left it with, like UPS or FedEx. But
I hope you make it.
right, what I would do is I would create a mat that would hold the artwork. So I took a piece of foam board. I would always take a piece of foam core or foam board, and I cut little slots in each corner so that the artwork would actually slide into the foam core. Then I matted the artwork so that the mat folded over the top of the artwork, and there was a little bit of space between the top of the artwork and where my cover sheet would land. So I'd put a cover sheet on top of that too, and a lot of times that cover sheet was another piece of cardboard. So I would have the foam core at the bottom, if you'll imagine this, the foam core with the little corners cut out so the artwork stayed in the foam core without any adhesion, so no tape or anything. Then I had a mat that folded down over the top, and it was attached to the foam core, so it would have kind of a hinge. And then I would take a piece of cardboard over the top, so that would be a rigid, flat piece over the top, and that would encase the artwork inside with a little bit of space left by the mat so that the artwork never touched the cardboard. Now, white charcoal and black paper, I know that's dusty and powdery, but as long as nothing's touching it, it shouldn't be smudged. And as long as that cardboard is rigid enough, it's not something that you'll have to worry about. You could always use a little bit of spray fixative in those certain circumstances. And that will also ensure that it doesn't get smudged. But just as long as you can kind of create a little bit of a pocket so that the artwork is not touching the cardboard or anything else within the container, it should be fine. James asked, have you ever used acrylic ink or color instead of watercolor or gouache?
I have not used acrylic ink.
I haven't either.
You? No,
I've used acrylic paint, of course, but not acrylic ink.
All right, I'm switching to the light peach for some of the molding and just to lay in where the I think I got a place for some buff, but where some of this.
Good. I want to see some buff action. But he says, Ashley, just great to see you. You're measuring with the pencil and looking for negative spaces.
Thank you. Yeah, you caught me twisting my pencil a little bit as much as I could. So it's a little hard because this is flat to measure. I prefer not to have to kind of bend my hand back down, not 90 more degrees to transfer an angle, but that's the nature of working flat with a vertical reference.
Okay.
All right. Now remember, these markers will lighten as they dry. Okay.
Sharon asks, could I use white acrylic in place of gouache to highlight something on my watercolor painting?
Yes, you could. It's going to be, it's going to look a little bit different. It could be a little bit of a shiny spot, whereas the gouache will not be.
That's a good point.
The watercolor's not shiny because it takes on the surface of the paper.
Right. Acrylic is plastic, basically.
Right. So if just keep that in mind. It may photograph with a little shiny spot, but hey, you're using it for white anyway, so just like an extra light highlight. If
you're concerned about it, and I would be concerned about it, if it was a painting that I really cared about, I would just go buy a tube of white gouache.
I put a little bit of my Deco orange down here because there is a little bit of a reflection below this side of the door. So just a little bit of a light spot right there. So you might just notice that.
And Buddy also asked, Ashley, what paper are you using?
This is 80-pound white sulfite drawing paper. So pretty standard drawing paper. All right, just going through my markers a little bit. I'm looking for my next. I think I need to light the light peach again for a little bit of this business down here, at least to start it.
Yeah, Edie points out that acrylic is synthetic latex, but latex is a type of plastic. So it's a completely different binder than what you find in gouache. So it's going to have a different appearance. And it may also have kind of a cooler look to it. So the white that you add might actually look very unnatural. So it's just something to think about.
That's true. All right, using a little bit of that grade lavender to start to differentiate the form of our Doris molding a little bit. We'll be doing some hatching with the pen later, so a little bit of line work with the marker is okay. It should harmonize with some of the pen strokes that are going to go in. All right.
Now, the marker that the suspect marker, have you used that yet?
No.
Okay, because my nostrils are waiting in anticipation.
Are you picking something up already?
I think maybe just barely.
Just the alcohol markers?
Yeah, I think it's just the alcohol markers. I mean, I'm what, like 9 feet from you, I think.
Yeah, about there. All right, just putting in base colors right now. Just putting in base colors.
Buddy asked, will Bristol paper work with markers too? It will, yeah. The thing about working with traditional papers with markers, and you can see that a little bit with Ashley's drawing, is that you'll see a little bit of maybe a little bit of an inconsistency in the stroke.
Softness.
Where it kind of gets a little thicker and a little bit thinner in some areas.
Yeah.
And that's just from the marker bleeding a little bit on papers like the paper that Ashley's using, and also you'd see the same thing with Bristol paper, and that's not a bad thing or a terrible thing. It gives a marker drawing a little bit of a different look. Mm-hmm. They do make marker paper that kind of alleviates that, so it helps absorb the marker a little bit in a more consistent pattern. They still bleed a little bit, but you won't see those lines quite as clearly, but some people like the look of the lines, and you can use them to indicate some texture if you want. It gives the drawing somewhat of a unique character too. So, but yeah, Bristol paper will work as well.
All right, still using that gray or grade violet for some shadow. And I'm continuing to use the Deco orange just as a base color for down here. I'm going to get into our tables, chairs, and doors now, and then move over to marker pretty shortly thereafter. I'm sorry, ink shortly thereafter. I do want to put the lights in and the shadows and all that kind of business. That's going to be nice. Now, we're keeping this really loose. These are small details. I'd love to get into the little negative spaces of the chairs and spend a few days there, but we just don't have that. So this is really going to be some fresh, loose sort of mark making in these chairs. Hopefully the pen will bring some structure and clarity back to what we've done.
Funky Groove E50 says, ? Would have cropped to first door to get sign in because of its detail. Do you understand that?
The sign that's going to go here?
I guess.
There's two signs
to the
in
first
here.
door to get to sign in because of its detail. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe to crop closer in or crop one door out.
Something I should point out is this original image is actually horizontal, and there was a lot more to it. And I actually cropped it down to what you see
to what
here.
we have now.
So I'd cropped it to a composition that I thought was more successful than the original image, at least for what we're doing here. Okay, we got a question. What is your favorite medium, Matt and Ashley?
I know we've answered this question before.
We have.
And I feel like I'm probably going to answer different today.
That's okay.
But right now, I think my favorite medium is charcoal and gouache and Procreate.
Okay, so that's 3 mediums.
Right. Those are my current favorite mediums.
Yeah, and the same is true for me. It depends on what mood I'm in. I have no idea what my favorite medium is. One day it's colored pencils, one day it's pen and ink, one day it is graphite, another day it's charcoal.
And that's the problem with being an art teacher.
Right.
We keep working with all these media and just can't make up our minds, so we use them all.
Yesterday, I was working on the final drawing for the charcoal drawing course, which the final drawing is a portrait with white charcoal and black paper, which ironically we were talking about just a minute ago. And I was really enjoying that yesterday. I was thinking, oh, I really love this medium. And then in a few minutes, when we go live with the live lessons, I'm going to work on a oil pastel drawing that's super loose and like very impressionistic, completely the opposite. And I like both of those things. I like all types of creating that involves mark making. I do have mediums that I don't really get super excited to use. So I have least favorite mediums, but even with the least favorite mediums, there are times when I'm excited to use those as well. So it's really hard to narrow down what my favorite mediums are. And it's obviously hard for Ashley too. So
yes, I would say so. I mean, did I say charcoal?
You said charcoal. Charcoal was one of them.
I'm into charcoal right now, probably because I just completed that charcoal drawing over at the live lesson.
Well, I mean,
so it's fresh in my mind. I just enjoyed using it. It had been a while,
Yeah,
I forgot how awesome it is.
Charcoal is a wonderful medium to work with. And, what's interesting is, how we talked about like oil painting is not the most popular medium in the world.
Right.
And I don't think charcoal is very popular either.
And that surprises me. Honestly, it's easier than drawing with pencils.
It doesn't surprise me because I think oil painting is misunderstood. Everybody thinks it's difficult to create oil paintings.
Yeah.
And they think that watercolor is easy. And the opposite of that is true.
What people are judging the media on is how easy it is to clean, not how easy it is to use.
Maybe. But,
like parents and elementary school teachers, maybe for in the classroom or in the kitchen, like watercolor, because it's not going to stick forever to everything it touches like acrylic is.
Right. But oil painting is very forgiving, and watercolor is not. And charcoal drawing is very forgiving, and pen and ink is not. And pen and ink is arguably, right now for sure, one of the most popular drawing mediums out there.
I agree.
Mostly because urban sketching has become this thing. And, pen and ink is very easily accessible. And people think that charcoal... Yes, and people think that charcoal is so difficult to control, but that's one of the reasons why it is so forgiving, is because it is so malleable. But yeah, charcoal is a wonderful medium, but I don't think, in producing this course, it's not getting as much views or traction as some of the other courses like the Pen and Ink Experience or the subjects with pen and ink, other mediums that are just more popular, which is interesting but kind of a little bit unfortunate, because charcoal is a medium that when you work with it, it's so encouraging when you actually sit down and really understand how to use it and use it. It's so encouraging because the artwork that you make is naturally going to have a full range of value. It's going to have high contrast. You can create tonal changes very easily. You can erase very easily. There's so many wonderful things about charcoal. Let's see here. Brent Does Art says, my favorite mediums have become water-soluble graphite and Conte. That's interesting. And let's see here.
All right, we're just looking for some windows here with our swing color. It is the gray lavender. I always like to think of purples or lavenders as my swing color. I can use them when they're not there, and they usually look okay.
Okay, Shane asked, do you guys draw mainly from life, photos, or imagination?
Here it's from photos. I like to draw from my imagination a lot, but we don't do that on Getting Sketchy because we have a reference for others to kind of follow along with us. So we talk about issues with here a lot of times that are specific to drawn from photos, like the scale of our artwork versus the scale of our reference and proportion and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, in today's modern age, it's just so much easier to draw from photos than it is to draw from life. I hardly ever draw from imagination. I'll draw little things for my kids from imagination, but in what I do here, as far as teaching people how to draw and paint, learning how to draw and paint is about learning how to see. And once you understand how to see and how our brains work to formulate what we're seeing and making sense of it all, then you understand how you can create illusions in your drawings and paintings to basically fool the eye. And that is what drawing and painting representationally is all about. So I don't really spend a lot of time drawing from imagination. In fact, I cannot remember the last time I actually drew from imagination. I don't think that's necessarily a skill you need to have to be an artist. I think you need to be creative, but I don't think you need to necessarily be able to whip a scene out of your imagination and be able to draw it, because most of the people that draw from imagination well have spent a lot of time drawing from observation, and they're actually just remembering things and putting things together to create something new. But it's all from learned experiences.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Drawing from life is how you learn to draw from your imagination.
Right. Drawing from life is the ultimate way to draw, because your brain is making sense of all the light and shadow, and no matter how advanced photos are, they don't capture all the colors and shadows. They don't capture all the colors and highlights. And you see things when you are observing from life that a camera can't pick up, but that our mind can pick up and our eyes can pick up. So
I know it seems crazy because the cameras seem like they see so well, and you can zoom in, and you see more and more detail.
Right.
But sometimes our brains actually get rid of some of that detail on purpose. It creates focal points with our own eyes that the camera isn't necessarily doing. So I think that's why it is important to draw from life and from photos and see how they differ.
Yeah, drawing from life is the ultimate. It's just not always practical. For example, I mean, we've talked about this before. If you want to draw a lion, for example, you're not going to go sit in a cage with a lion. You might go to the zoo and try to see a lion if you're successful, but it wouldn't make sense
nowadays. But not in the past, you couldn't do that.
Right. It just makes sense to just take a photo of a lion if you're at the zoo, and if not, then you can use reference photos that other folks have taken to construct your drawing. So it's not a perfect world that we live in, but that's the way it is.
We've got to have time for the pen. So just hustling to get the rest of our marker in place, and then we'll try to start bringing some sharpness and some clarity in places with our pen work.
Claire says, I picked up a lot of knowledge from watching the Virtual Instructor, which has improved my watercolor painting. Knowledge is power. Thank you, Matt and Ashley. Keep well and keep drawing and painting. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Claire. All right. Massi Milano. I think I'm pronouncing that probably incorrectly, but please forgive me for that because the screen is really tiny in front of me. Hey, guys. First time here and love it. Thanks. We're glad to have you. Funky Groove E50 says, ? I have a hard time with digital art, but helps in creating 3D pieces I could not see otherwise. Oh, yeah. Okay. So you're using 3D imaging programs to maybe create reference material.
Cool. That is cool.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I've sculpted reference material before so I could observe it.
You have, and you actually wrote a post about it.
That's right. I sculpted like this weird dragon thing out of, what was it? Plasticine. And I think I had some vellum wings on it and used some wooden, and it's not dowel rods, but it's, what's that? Balsa wood, wooden balsa strips to kind of make the ribs of the wings. Then I could set up lighting on it and then try to make an artwork that had realistic lighting, even though the imagery originally came from imagination. I'm struggling to find the right marker sometimes since the labels have faded.
Well, you've done so much good work there with the markers along the pen and ink is really gonna.
I can't wait to get the pen and ink.
Yeah, I think it's gonna really pop
down here.
And I like what you've done with the colors even more so than the reference to you brought in a little bit more green.
Well, you know, we're working with approximations,
right?
We have markers, so we get the closest color and value we can, and then we just try to, you know, in that way we're using our imagination a little bit and just try to make it work.
I think your color choice is a little bit more reminiscent of something you might see in a Van Gogh painting.
Well, I won't argue with that. I love Vincent Van Gogh.
Well, you know what I'm saying with the green and the reds they're contrasting each other nicely, more so than I think the blues and the oranges are. Kizzy Cat says, I have aphantasia. Aphantasia. Have you ever heard of that?
Aphantasia.
So I have to use source material. Aphantasia.
I'm not exactly
that might be
sure
some
what
kind
that
of
is.
condition.
Yeah.
It's either plain air or photos, I think. Let's see here. Okay. I think we're caught up there. Thank you for that comment there, Funky Groove E50. Funky Groove, I love your name there. I wonder if you're a musician. Maybe you're a drummer like me, and that's why you have a name, Funky Groove E50. Maybe you're laying down some funky grooves.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that color you're putting down there in the bottom there.
Thank you.
It's enhancing also the directional stroke you're making there is enhancing the perspective.
I'm trying to find that. I had to make a choice because the way the surface actually looks isn't great for marker. That kind of marbly look necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I need some broken color in here because it is kind of two-tone. But so I have to put down some kind of broken mark, and so I just figured following the perspective can't be wrong, right?
No, that definitely helps. That adds to the space, and otherwise, this image could look flat if you weren't careful.
Right.
But yours has so much dimension and depth, I think. Yes, it is an issue where you can't imagine something in your mind. Buddy has clarified that for us.
Okay, can't hold it in your.
And Kizzy Cat also added that too there.
Well, thank goodness then for photography.
Oh, thanks for clarifying that for me, Funky Groove 50. The name is actually 50 Funky Groove 50. He just has, or she has the E capitalized, so I put more importance on that, and that's why I put E50. So still haven't used the
pen,
the marker with the scent, huh?
Oh, no, this is it.
This is it.
This
okay.
is it.
Maybe I just felt it in the air.
I'm starting to feel it. Okay.
Oh, nice. Funky Groove 50 is a drummer. He says he's a drummer in my dad's band, my dad's friend's band. My dad plays the keys. Nice.
Well, there you go.
Nice. Very good.
Mystery solved. All right. Now, let's see. I did need... I think we need our deco.
Oh, I can smell that
blue.
pen now. It took a few minutes to get here.
To make it over there.
Oh, that is strong. You must be really smelling it over there.
I'm going to have to go outside before the next show starts.
Oh, my gosh.
And we'll make these lanterns stand out with our pen, their pen work. All right, let's get into the pen for a little bit. Because a little bit's all we've got.
A little bit is all we've got. 10 minutes.
All right. So I'm using, I don't think I mentioned it before. This is a Winsor Newton pen I've used on the show before. It's a 0.3 in the Winsor Newton line. And I think it's waterproof. Not that it matters for tonight.
And I have linked to the pens I like to use, the Stadler pens, in the description below this video. Obviously, I'm going to have to go back and add the markers to there.
Yeah.
I did not link to the pen Ashley's using, but I'm sure...
Well, the pens that you like to use are plenty comparable to this one. They're great pens. They do just as well.
Mike C says, Ashley, I can smell that over here. I wouldn't be surprised. Claude J. Kale says, as a virtual instructor member, I have learned so much. Just listening to you guys answer questions is valuable. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Margaret says that she's an orchestral flutist. Very interesting. Wow. And Edie says the drawing is more beautiful than the photo. And that is the goal, isn't it? Very good.
Yeah, that's right. The photos are just, they're a starting point, a place to kind of meditate on and think about. But also one of the things we want to think about is what we're going to leave out or simplify. And because that's usually, a hallmark of some good art. And then also what we want to just change or do differently. And
I can't help but go back to the Van Gogh reference. This feels like, the colors feel like the painting of Van Gogh's room
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was trying.
It's got a chair in there too.
Piece you were thinking of? Yeah, it's got the little wooden chairs. That's true.
And your drawing is taking on that quality, even though it's markers and pen and ink. That's so crazy, but it's given me that kind of feeling. Jan says, "Can we expect some slurry speech soon?" Of course, referencing the markers. And Jan, we start off with slurry speech, so it only goes downhill from the very beginning. So well, next thing you know, we'll be just saying words that don't even make sense. Buddy says, Ashley, could you have done the drawing just the other way around, starting with a pen?
Probably so. Yeah, probably so. But I'm afraid if I do, then I have a more of an inclination to try to stay inside of the lines, and then it starts to feel less like I'm kind of painting with marker, and more like I'm coloring. So what I was hoping is that the marker would land a little bit loose, a little bit maybe bleedy, and then we can use our pen to reestablish where some of these contours ought to be, and just kind of contributes a little bit to hopefully some style in here.
Yeah, I would have. I probably would have started with the pen. Yeah. But I like the approach that you've taken better. I feel like it has given a different.
It's something
quality.
You have to wait for. You gotta wait for the pen, I think, to come in. But all right. Speaking of these, I'd mentioned these little guys. I want to give them some clarity. And of course, I mean, this drawing, it's so hard edged and high contrast, and has all those negative spaces in the chairs. This is the kind of thing I think could be a really intense sort of labor of love. You could really spend a long time on this drawing. So I'm really having to push myself just to make fresh marks and go.
And Van Gogh.
And fresh marks and Van Gogh. A good one.
Let's see here. Orion Nebula says that she played the oboe in high school. Very good. An oboist. And Funky Groove 50 says, anxious to figure out how much detail will be covered in that sign above the door. The sign is really, it's really,
I'm going to put
it's having an effect on people.
Yeah, you may be disappointed. Those letters are light. I'm just going to be putting some darker marks up there that.
Just write exit.
Let's see how we're doing on time. 6 minutes.
And Shelly is a rhythm guitarist here. It's
getting the band
all
back
the
together.
all the musicians are coming out of the woodwork. It really, there's a lot of overlap, I think, between musicians and visual art. Just like there's a lot of overlap between musicians and math, which there's not a lot of overlap between visual artists and mathematicians.
Man, you say that, and I have a math teacher that's in my room all the time trying to help me draw his equations. He's way over my head. He comes in with these huge ideas. He's good at drawing. He's good at math. He sees everything as math, know. And
of course it is. It's what he teaches.
And it is.
And you come back and say everything is art.
Right. Yeah. But and he's got some pretty crazy ideas, and he likes to represent them visually when he can, because it's a good way to teach the kids. But first he has to teach these math ideas to me, right? Yeah. Or reteach them, because I know I'm in a high school, but I've been out of high school myself for quite some time. So he comes in during my planning period, and I have brief math lessons, so then I can help him with his art.
Well, I forgot June is a retired math teacher. She reminds us here, I'm a retired math teacher. Yes, I remember you out there. There was
I understand that.
Let's see. It was a few months ago. I was actually playing pickleball with someone, and she's a retired math teacher, and I can't remember how we got on the subject, but she said that in her class we did real things. We didn't just sit around and color. And as you might imagine, I snapped off on her.
We did the real things.
And
does he like her phone? A designer drew it. Does he like her shoes? A designer drew it. She like her house?
I blacked out. I don't remember what I said.
You blacked out.
But she
Matt
left
went to a rage and blacked out and doesn't remember what happened after that.
Then the police showed up on the door. No.
And I blacked out when I came to. I was holding her hair in my hands.
I kind of set her straight, or I like to think I did, because there's, we were talking about this the other day. somebody found out what I do. None of us are one-dimensional, and we know people in certain contexts, and then we make assumptions about them based on those contexts. One person found out what I did, what my job is for a living, and they said, that's weird. I never would have expected Matt to be an artist. And you know why they would say that? Because
I'm afraid to ask.
Because it's stereotypes.
Yeah.
Everybody believes these stupid stereotypes that, first of all, you've had to deal with them too.
Sure.
People believe that artists can't be athletic.
Right.
Artists have to dress a certain way or look a certain way or behave a certain way or be weird or whatever.
We're one of the groups that can be quite variable because art is for everyone. Right. And there's a type of, we were talking about a market before, finding a market. Right. There's a market for every type of art out there, and that's why art can kind of be an umbrella that includes everybody.
Well, the thing is, most of the people who are out there, being artists, and I put that in quotations, a lot of the ones that are trying to fall into the stereotypes aren't really artists. They're just trying to give a perception of who they are instead of being true to themselves. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of people that have these stereotypes, and of course, one of those stereotypes is that there's not overlap between art and other avenues like math, for example. And Funky Groove 50 points out that drums are math. Yes, they are very mathematical, but just feel and fall into the pocket, even funky odd time signatures. And yes, as a drummer, I am definitely more of a feel drummer than I am about the mathematical things. But I love odd syncopation and odd time measures, and falling into the pocket with those odd time signatures, as you point out. Let's see. Edie says Pool is painting on green canvas. I guess she's talking about the game Pool.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. I like Pool.
Barb says,
okay. I have made a 5-ball combination in Pool, and I have a drawing. Pretty good, and I have a drawing to show people how the balls. When I made it, I immediately went and got a napkin and drew out how the balls had been placed and arrows that show which ball hit what ball, so that I could review and prove that I have made a 5-ball. And I called it. I said I was going to make it. It wasn't an accident. I didn't just hit them hard and see what happens. I called it, and I have proof.
A couple of things. First, I saw a license plate the other day it said 2 on par 5. So somebody made an albatross.
Yeah.
And wanted to tell everybody so badly.
How about that?
They put it on their license plate.
My gosh. 2 on a...
That's like your 5-ball pot.
Right. I would call that guy 2 on par 5. Hey, 2 on par 5. That's his new name.
And Barb says, I love pickleball. It's so cool that you play. Barb, I was a big time tennis player, and I used to give tennis lessons a long time ago, and pickleball just was a natural fit, because it's like pickleball is like somewhere in between ping pong and tennis.
Yeah, I was going to say table tennis.
But now pickleball has just taken over this area. And
my daughter plays it now in gym. That's what they do in gym classes.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing. It's something
she's got a bruise to prove it.
You can pick up pretty quickly and get pretty good at pretty quickly. And Britt Does Art says, I coach baseball and teach art, so I've been stereotyped myself. Yeah, you know, you're right there with us.
You are an enigma. You confuse people when they meet you.
We know. And Lori says, I'm a math major and I love art. Fantastic.
All right. I know the buzzer has sounded, so to speak.
It's a silent buzzer. It's a buzzer that no one would notice if you didn't point it out.
That's right. All right. Well, where's my pen? It is a mess over here.
I love your drawing.
Thank you. I've got markers everywhere. I am totally like I just feel discombobulated over here.
It is so. This is gonna sound. It's gonna sound like I don't like it, but I do like it. It doesn't look like you would expect with a marker and pen and ink drawing.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. It looks more artistic.
It looks like it's moving.
It does. It looks like it's moving. It looks like it looks like you know, that movie is it A Scanner Darkly, where they use the rotoscoping. Anyway, there was a thing with I
think I know which one you're talking about.
There was a thing that was in the I think it was in MoMA. You remember when I used to do the rotoscoping with the kids and we did the skateboard movie? Do you remember the video that I would show them about those kids who went in to buy a Slurpee in 7-Eleven? It was a rotoscope film that was made by art students.
Gosh, I don't know if I remember that.
Anyway, it was the same kind of thing where the teacher or the project was made up of several artists, and each artist had a different section of the video to do.
I know exactly which one
So
you're
the
talking
style changed, just like the skateboard video that I made with the students.
Yeah, that's right.
This has that feel associated with it, like it could be a scene from those rotoscope kind of things, which is really cool, really awesome.
Maybe it's the way the line looks over it. Now, if I'd have started with a pen, there's no way I would have that many like broken lines and stuff in there. You know, I've got some huge gaps in there.
Yeah, the order made a difference.
And if I would have used the pen, it would have been much, much clearer in terms of the contours before I started. I know it would.
And you're drawing so much more colorful than the reference too. The reference kind of has a kind of a warm feel all associated with it.
Honestly, that Brittany blue that I had earlier is probably a better choice for up here. If you wanted to look more like the reference, but I kind of like those aqua colors in here, the aqua and the peach. You know,
I like your color combinations work better than the reference, I think.
Now, where is that buff? Here it is. I've got one little white spot up here.
Get to do something in the buff.
Right. You're not going to even be able to tell when it dries. I know when this dries, it's going to totally disappear in that little spot, but I just needed to put it in there. So
yeah, got to have a little bit of buff.
Hey, you know what? We don't know. We can't see Matt under the table. We don't know what's going on underneath there.
Underneath these clothes, I'm completely naked.
Yeah, he may be half buff over there.
Yeah. I am underneath these clothes.
Everybody's naked underneath their clothes.
Yep.
You got me. All right, I guess this one it's going to have to be done. It's got to be done. It's over. I'm still reaching for markers.
Yeah, it's hard to stop, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
Especially when you're getting into a drawing and you're excited about how it's looking.
I know there's places I'm missing. Like there's a little shadow. I missed the shadow up there on the molding. I missed the shadow here.
That's going to make a big difference.
I know
it's going to make a big difference.
Important things that need to be done. There we go.
Keep it going. There it is. That made a huge difference. It really did.
It did. I just felt like something was missing up there, and I couldn't identify it. I think, it needed that. How did we not see that before?
We got a super chat. Thank you, a numbers girl.
Numbers girl. I think this one is done for a 45-minute sketch, and this one was a lot of fun. I do like I might use this process again. I don't know if I've actually used pen over marker before. So it was a little bit of an experiment, and part of art is experimenting and practicing and revising our process. So
yeah,
I think that happened for me.
And I think this one was maybe a little out of your comfort zone.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's got a lot of hard edges, but it's still not the kind of subject matter I usually choose. It's got, like you said, it runs the risk of feeling flat.
And I think sometimes when we do stuff outside of our comfort zone, it opens up creative parts of our brain that normally aren't tapped into when we stay in the areas that are comforting.
You give yourself an opportunity to get excited, to succeed at something that's not something you've entirely done before. And so it's an opportunity.
All right. Well, I think the last thing we need to do is
we got to spin the wheel.
Spin the wheels.
All right, let's do that.
So let me get some of this junk off the screen here. We don't need a timer anymore.
Stack my markers up before they hit the floor.
We don't need the reference image up there anymore either.
Okay. All right, the drawing is...
June says, love this subject matter, and it's so expressive and loose. Love it.
Thank you.
And Damara has put up a pink hand. I'm not really sure what that means, but I like it. Kizzy Cat says, part of my art is doing what people tell me you can't do.
I like that. As a challenge, take it as a challenge.
Orion Nebula says it looks similar to some line and wash with watercolors.
Yeah, I was trying to think about it as though I were working with a watercolor.
Okay,
Watercolor
Richard has given us a
sensibility.
really difficult question. I have a question for you both. If you
Okay.
could own only one famous original painting in the world, what would it be? And I know which one it would be. But I can't remember the name of it.
Your favorite painting, you can't remember the name of.
I know, isn't that terrible? I'll describe it for you. It has a bunch of crosses in it, and it's in Ecuador, and it's in Reynolda House.
Oh,
what's the name of that
You're
painting?
talking about it's by Church.
Frederick Church,
and it's called.
What? See, you can't remember it either.
I've stared at it for like probably collectively about 3 hours.
I know,
and I can't remember the name of it. That's interesting, but it means something to you because you've seen it in person. You spent time with it, and and it's a
so
kind of painting
huge.
that is almost like 4 or 5 paintings put together.
It really is.
So you can look. It was made to look at in small bits. You were supposed to look through a tube.
All right, while you're
explore it.
While you're coming up with
my
yours.
favorite painting, I know what it is. It's a painting that I saw at the Reynolda House one time, and I can't remember the artist's name, and I can't find the painting, and I have looked for it for years on the internet.
It's not the.
I'm going to describe this painting. Okay, and I don't know if it's the only one, but it struck me when I saw it, and I've thought about it, and I want to see it because it looks so cool.
It's not the one with the storm coming.
No.
Okay.
No. This painting was in a traveling exhibit. So it was some. It was either Russian or Greek Orthodox priests walking through the streets of Jerusalem in a promenade. There's like banners and gold crosses everywhere, but the priest that's in the middle has these big, like Joe Biden aviator sunglasses on. Now this was painted in probably the 70s or something, 60s maybe.
Yeah.
And the painting it looks like ZZ Top, meets the Russian Orthodox Church, and I just think it's the most interesting painting I've ever. I don't know much about it. I can't even remember the artist's name, but I have scoured the internet for that painting, and I can't find it anywhere. It must be out of somebody's private collection.
Okay, well, I was close. The name of the painting is the Andes of Ecuador.
The Andes.
The Andes of Ecuador, and if you look it up and see it online, it's not nearly as impressive as it is in real life.
In fact, if it's not, it would have to be photographed perfectly for some of the lighting effects to come out.
It's photographed pretty well on here, but if we're fortunate to be close to a museum that has a lot of American art that's very famous, and this was one of those pieces in that. It's a permanent collection.
Now, out of the whole world. Gosh, could I import a mural into my home? Could I just bring like the Sistine Chapel and drop it into my living room? So,
I don't think I'd want that.
It's just so much to look at. And I've drawn most of the figures in the Sistine Chapel. When I was in college, I copied a lot of Michelangelo.
A lot of those figures. Are
all those buff figures. They're buff for several reasons.
All right, before we buffer out here on YouTube, let's go ahead and spin the wheels.
Okay, what do you want first?
I want the reference first.
Okay.
Because I want to see how bad it's going to get. Because
listen, this has been a tough season.
This has been really tough, and we're down to
take
only a few references.
Afterward, have you ever seen what's that? I'm always talking about something which name I can't remember. What's Office Space? The movie.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Stapler.
Yeah, with a stapler. Okay, we're going to take these out copier style and put them in the yard, and we're going to sledgehammer these. I'm going to drop elbows on them like this. We're going to take it all
listening
out.
to rap music.
Right. We're going to listen to. I think it was Ice Cube. While we do that,
we're not going to do that because I'd have to build more real wheels.
Okay, but we'd like to do that. All right, here it goes. Here it goes.
That one, just that one.
Yeah,
that's the only one we want to destroy. Is the one with the photo references.
That's right.
This was a really good idea, but it's turned out to be a challenge that is not fun because we're not getting to choose the medium with it. We picked out these references, both of us, with mediums in mind
that they're just not landing
and
on.
then they're not matching up. It's only happened once, with the chains.
When we do the critique a week, we'll talk about our piece and talk about what we would like to have drawn it in, and then what we did draw it in, and how we reacted to that, how we responded. That'll be good something for the critique.
Just no acorns. Okay. Anything but the acorns.
No acorns from my driveway.
No. Is that where they came from?
Yes.
No acorns. Oh, please don't land on the stupid acorns. My gosh.
Do you want a do-over?
I don't get
I'm going to give you a do-over.
No, don't give me a do-over.
It's awful. We've got some quality images
There's
still
some good
on
one.
here.
The beta fish is still left.
Yeah, the beta fish,
the hand with the pastel is left. And those are the
pineapple.
The pineapple is the one I really wanted.
Right. Are you sure you don't want to do a mulligan? One mulligan per season?
No, we're not going to do a mulligan.
All right, we'll see what you do with this.
Thousands of people are going to watch this video. I've got to have some integrity here.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, now it's going to land on something ridiculous.
We don't do do-overs.
It's going to land on something ridiculous for the stupid acorns.
Okay.
I'm going to have to get creative with the acorns here.
You're going to have to stretch yourself.
All right.
All right, here we go.
Even Buddy said, poor Matt, LOL. Don't land on charcoal. Oh my gosh. I can't believe this. This is the worst combination. The worst. Ashley is laughing it up.
I feel so guilty.
Oh gosh.
I put that picture on the wheel. And I also haven't wanted to land on acorns.
Well, kidney stones, the flu.
Talk about this. Come up with a way.
I should have expected acorns and charcoal. It's just the way it is.
You're approaching rock bottom, Matt. You're approaching rock bottom.
And Nicole says, how about a better acorn picture? Well, I've been thinking about the acorn photo, and I've got some ideas on how what I can do with the acorn photo. The thing about the acorn photo is there's no clear focal point.
Yeah.
So I've got to figure out how to make the acorns work. I'm going to use the photo reference that I've been given, but I'm also going to take some liberties with it.
What if I told you that there's a larger version of that photo reference, not cropped?
Yeah.
And that you could have the raw picture and recrop it
I would love
for a
that.
Focal point.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think I will find you the raw photo and let you crop it.
Okay, I got a plan. I'm going to work on gray paper. I'm going to use white and black charcoal.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do the acorns, and I'm going to destroy it in a good way. I'm going to take on this challenge, and I want all of you guys to take on that challenge with me next week. So we're going to work on gray paper, black and white charcoal.
All right.
We're going to do the acorns.
Black and white
charcoal. We're going to do them great. We're going to embrace this challenge.
Mm-hmm. Going to eat that acorn up.
I'm going to eat that acorn.
Well, I don't know about you folks out there, but I can't wait.
Put a squirrel in it, Margie says. Yeah. Jan put a little icon of a squirrel. I don't know where you guys get all these icons.
Wow, look at that.
Damara put some little purple guy on there.
Are they designing their own icons, emojis?
Yeah.
Maybe you can download more.
Funky Groove says, fate speaks in threes indeed. Oh, I don't know what that means, but...
Fate speaks in threes and D's. Threes and D's. I don't know what that means.
Threes indeed. Not threes.
Oh, yeah.
Just threes indeed.
It's a
all right, well, I don't have to worry about the acorns until next week, but I do need to start worrying about oil pastels, which are coming
That's right.
Next.
We've got to switch gears and go over to the virtual instructor.
Yep.
Start a new program.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the last hour. I enjoyed watching that marker and pen and ink drawing come to life, and watching that wheel land on the acorns and the charcoal. So
I'm glad I'm past that. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
You still got one more to go, but that one's off the board.
Yeah, but I'm going to get a hand or a pineapple.
But
I think those are okay.
The hand's good. The pineapple's good.
Yeah, depending on the medium.
And the beta fish is good
and
too.
I don't think I would. I'm looking at the beta fish now. I don't think I would mind having the beta fish. And other than the door that I just did, I've worked with all organic imagery, all animals this season, if you count an insect as an animal. So that would be kind of in keeping with my theme. And then me, the beta fish, the bee, the polar bear, and the parakeet can go hang out in a cafe together. My fifth drawing, we'll go hang out at the cafe and critique our work. bringing it all together.
Well, that's the nature of the challenge this season, which we're never going to do this for the first season.
Well, listen, we've been outside of our comfort zone. We can say we did it. We worked out our stuff. Now I'm going to retreat to my comfort zone. Now, I was thinking about this before I came over. I thought maybe next season we should do all pencil drawings, 10 pencil drawings.
Maybe.
Like pick a single medium, you know, and just beat it up.
And every week just do the same medium.
Same medium, but see how differently we can use the same medium. This time we've had something different almost every time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's been a real challenge. Yeah, we'll come up with something.
And, you guys can put your ideas for the show, what you'd like to see from season to season in the chat, too.
Yes, and then we'll choose whether or not we're going to do it or not.
Right. Executive decision.
Yeah. Some of you have ideas that are great, but they just wouldn't work for the show. But we'll come up with something for next season. But this season's not over. We still have 2 more drawings, and then we have our wrap-up show where we're going to go through and talk about the drawings that we created this season, and how frustrated we were that we didn't get this particular medium or that particular.
It's not going to be a complaint session. We're not going to complain. I promise, but we will tell you what we would have done differently. And I've got some things that I'm critical of myself this season, so I'll be glad to share those with you.
Yeah, I'm critical of myself this season too. Yeah. But I think the part of that is because we're using mediums and references that we're not choosing.
Yeah.
Which is entertaining, of course, and it's a great challenge. Nicole says a dartboard. I would practice my dart throwing.
Listen, Nicole. I threw a dart and hit the bullseye one time, and then my next dart stuck in the back of the dart that was in the bullseye.
And then he drew a picture on a napkin for proof.
Yeah, and then I drew the trajectory on a napkin and stored it with my pool shot.
Nicole says whiny baby.
You guys can tell I spent too much time in bars when I was young. I'm pretty good at pool and I'm pretty good at darts. All the other stuff I should have gotten good at, I wasn't doing.
All right. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Next week will be a lot of fun too. Because it's going to be a real challenge. Again, I've already decided I'm working on gray paper with white charcoal and black charcoal, and I'm going to rock these acorns like nobody's business. So we'll do that next week. For now, we need to get ready for the next show really fast.
It's 15 minutes over. We're just in here talking with everybody.
Yeah, just talking about stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. And of course, check out the membership program. There's a link in the description below where you get more of this kind of stuff, actually. All right, guys, have a wonderful week, a wonderful evening. Stay safe and healthy. And we'll see some of you in a few minutes. And the rest of you, we'll see you next week. With that, we're going to go ahead and sign out. Good night, everybody.